Pleased to be speaking here on the Rugby World Cup empowering legislation. And can I say to members of this side of the House, I feel empowered. I'll tell you why I feel empowered, because I'm going to look through Hansard and I'm going to see a contribution from the Honourable Trevor Mallard that said and talked about the great contribution that members on this side made to the legislation, but he also mentioned a contribution that I made. And can I say to Mr Mallard as well, he's mentioned the hard work that I do late at night for the people of Auckland Central, and there have been many nights that I've been working hard for an electorate which is integral to the World Cup, and I've looked 2 doors away from me in Auckland Central and I've seen the lights off in Labour, and I think that yes I have. I've seen the lights off in the Labour offices. But we're here because we believe that we have to ensure that we have a legislative environment. We have to have a legislative environment for the people who will be coming here for the Rugby World Cup. 85,000 visitors, we'll have 4 billion people potentially watching us, 2,000 media, and we need to ensure that not only do we have the accommodation for these people, but that we show them such a good time that they spend their money here in the future. So one of the aspects to this bill, and I'm going to refer to part 1, is around accommodation, and it's particularly relevant for Auckland Central because what we know is that unless we get these provisions in this bill right, then people will be paying extraordinary prices for accommodation. And so I'm very pleased to be part of a select committee process whereby we've been very clear. We are going to make it easier around temporary accommodation, and we've made a couple of changes in this area to ensure that certain multi-storey dwellings can be used for temporary accommodation without having to go through all the rigmarole that they would normally have to go through. We have been very clear, though, that they will have to do 2 things. One is to ensure that there will be a smoke alarm, and the other is to ensure that there are adequate evacuation procedures. But I think it's a very good thing for not only people of Auckland Central, but for New Zealand to be able to accommodate as many people as possible via some of this temporary accommodation. So I'm very pleased that the Select Committee has made that change. The second aspect to part 1 that I want to talk about is also we have made changes in the definitional area around ancillary events. And what this is about is saying that when the Select Committee got this legislation, we saw that it was just focusing on what are core sporting events. And we said, well, there might be New Zealanders, there might be people within Auckland, there might be people within other parts of the country that actually want to go down to their local pub and watch a game. And we want to know that local pubs actually have an ability to go through a special licensing procedure and maybe put on a special event. So I'm very pleased that the Select Committee have made changes to Part 1 in that area as well. So, Mr Chair, I'm pleased that we are going to be delivering for all of the many visitors that are coming to not only Auckland Central but to New Zealand. We've got a lot in progress, both in terms of the stadia that have been completed. The end part redevelopment looks fantastic. We have sold, I think, 500,000 tickets. We're on track from an infrastructure perspective, and what this is about ensuring both in Part 1 and the rest of the legislation that we're able to put it in a legislative environment that it will make sure that this Rugby World Cup is the greatest thing that's happened to New Zealand. Thank you.